Hello, Carl here with Sustainability Theory News. We're over at haveaheart.com. They have an article, 17 solutions to keep deer off your property. Yes, a couple of them are to buy some commercial deer repellents, but they have some good ideas here as well that you can do with little or no money with just some effort. So you want to eliminate the deer attractants. What are attracting the deer to the yard? We'll go to a graphic here in a second for the plants that deer love and deer hate. So you want to keep those plants, the ones that attract the deer, closer to your home, because they're not as comfortable to be right next to your home as they are in your backyard or out in a field. You want to maintain the landscape, so you trim the densely planted areas and make them less appealing as hiding places, because deer do most of their feeding at sunrise and sunset. So during the day, they like to find a nice place to hide and digest their food. So another thing you can do is spray them with a motion-activated sprinkler. It's harmless and does startle them and keeps them away from that area for a very long time. Adding levels to your yard, sort of like getting some raised beds, maybe some hugel mounds for hugel culture. It's not going to really deter them too much, but it might increase the amount of resistance needed to get into your yard, so they might just move on to an easier target. Letting your dog spend time in the yard. So the dogs, well, they'll mark their territory, of course, but every time they see a deer, most of them will start barking, and that will help keep deer away, because the deer, they don't want to be they don't want to alert people to their presence. So a dog barking at them, well, that could alert predators to their presence. Use plants and shrubs as taste-based repellents. So some plants the deer really hate the taste of. They got some listed here: lavender, catmint, garlic, chives. Also, wormwood has been known to keep deer away. But there's also some plants that they just don't like for the texture. We'll go to this graphic though really quick. As you can see, if it grows an edible fruit, the deer love it. But they can eat just about anything. Even many things that are poisonous to humans, deer have no problem eating whatsoever. If they're hungry enough, they'll eat it. But some plants that deer just don't like the taste of, some currants, figs, other bayberry is also another fruit tree. I believe bayberry is edible, but I'm not sure about that. And ginkgo tree, medicinal, but can keep the deer away. We'll go back to the list. I'm going to link to this article in the description if you want to read more about it, of course. So mullein has a nice furry texture to it. It's used as a medicine, but deer, they don't like the texture of it. Using hedges to create a border, so boxwoods or maybe even some fruit-based shrubs, raspberry canes, for example. Now the deer will of course eat the raspberries, but they'll still leave some for you, which leads us to building a fence. I remember seeing one person's deer fence where they have about 6 feet of raspberries as a thicket before the fence to prevent the deer from getting a running start or just stopping and jumping right over the fence. Deer are great jumpers. 8 feet is the minimum. More likely 10 feet is what you'll need to keep the deer out of there. And then talk about deer repellents. I've heard of some people just using rotting garlic and fermented garlic as a deer spray with some sugar and some water. But they do talk about some ones that they sell. Now, installing plant nets or tree wraps, that can help with bird problems as well. Setting up wind chimes, they do caution it is a temporary situation. Deer will become used to the noise eventually. Incorporate busy decor, so spinning windmills, and they make some windmills that help keep groundhogs away as well because of the vibrations in the soil. Stringing up fishing line, I've heard this is actually an incredibly effective method. You can just put some fishing line in between trees if you have trees going around your property. Maybe you could take some cedar trees or some princess trees, use them as fence posts, and make fishing line fencing out of that. The deer, they find it annoying and they'll eventually give up. Installing electronic posts, I've never heard about this before, but apparently they have these posts that kind of smell like acorns. The deer will come up to them, lick them, get a small electric shock, and then they'll stay away from the yard. They do recommend moving this around every once in a while, especially to areas where you've noticed some deer nibbling on your plants. Lastly, rotate the deer repellent tools. Take some out of rotation for a year, put some new ones in so they don't get too used to it. Most deer spend their lives in about 1 square mile radius. So once they find a good feeding spot, they like to stick around. Well, I'm going to link to this article in the description if you want to read more about it, and if you'd like to see more news headlines like this, subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.